in a minute, 12:05 exactly. So we'll just take 1 minute. Okay, good afternoon once again. It's 12:05. I want to welcome you all to this very special session. We'll be sharing ideas and opinion on education and democracy, especially looking at issues of peace and development, marking a Democracy Day, a very memorable moment for us in our democracy. Of course, it has been established that democracy is a journey. It's not a project that is done over a short period of time. It's a journey that takes so many curves. So we want to explore some of these issues, some of these lessons, some of these achievements, in commemoration of today and what it means for us. I'm very happy to be moderating today's event. My name is Edijon Lawrence Moses. I'll briefly go into the introduction. Then our ED will do his welcome and opening remarks. Then we go into the session fully, the technical session, I mean. We have with us the Executive Director of Peace Education and Practice Network, Ambassador Moses Abolade, who has been the front line visionary for our project in peace and practice. We also have with us some members of the executive management team. We have Shei Logun, who is with us here, and my own very self, program manager for PEPNET. I also want to briefly introduce our facilitator for this very event. We have with us just a second. We have with us Professor Angela Olofu Adeoye. She's an academic, a gender specialist, researcher at the Center for Conflict Management and Peace Studies of the University of Jos. I hope you all can hear me, please. Kindly confirm before I continue.
Yes, please.
Okay. She is a trained political scientist and specialist in international relations and strategic studies at the University of Jos. Her research, teaching, and publication focuses on gender in international relations, conflict management, and peace building, sexual and gender-based violence amongst refugees and internal displaced populations in fragile societies. She has served as a consultant for the UN Women and British Councils, involving Resolution 1325 and the National Action Plan. She holds a doctorate in gender studies, focusing on conflict, peace building, and security. We have Dr. Ayola Amale. I hope I did not do badly with the pronunciation. Dr. Ayo has a wealth of experience working as an attorney, certified educator, ombuds, and conflict resolution professional, and with civil society organizations and local communities as a development practitioner who works on advocacy, policy, and implementation issues at the intersection of education, human rights, gender policies, often including the arts as a transformational vehicle to create systemic positive change. She is committed to artistic activism and to lifting the essential roles of creativity in peace building and conflict transformation, and develops program models and advocacy strategy that promote feminist peace education, and social justice. She has broad expertise as a feminist peace advocate, engaging with gender equality in civil society, utilizing a multidisciplinary approach and participatory methodologies in advocacy, policy development, and training. Ayo is the lead of the City of Peace Initiative, CPI, Lagos, Nigeria, the lead consultant of First Conflict Resolution Services, and the founder and creative director of Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, Ghana, WILPF, Ghana. Her works often use art forms, poetry, visual arts, miming, theater, cartoons, photography, in peace building and in developing new thinking around economic and progressive social change issues. Ayo is constantly focused on conflict resolution, peace building, and believes that peace is a human right and culture that we build by educating young people. We also have with us Dangeifa Agalapu. He is a research analyst with the Center for Democracy and Development. He is a political scientist interested in research and teaching on development challenges in the Global South, specifically focusing on issues around climate change and conflict, crude oil-related violence, political violence, terrorism, democracy, environmental politics, and sustainability. I would plead with all of us to do an e-clapping for our facilitator for today. We can use our emojis to please recognize our facilitator for this very special event. You can you can react with your emoji clapping for our facilitators, like I just did. Thank you very much. So I'll leave the floor now for our Executive Director, Ambassador Moses Abolade, to do us his welcome remark.
Thank you very much, the Program Manager for Peace Education and Practice Network, who is also moderating this particular event, the person of Ejiodian Lawrence, for that warm welcome and for the arrival of all participants. I want to say it's a great honor to be hosting you at this particular time of the year, which is a time so critical in our development and in our knowledge of what Nigeria should be and how we should be. I hope I'm audible. Is somebody asking a question? Okay. So as I was saying, it's a great honor to be hosting this event and at this particular time in our development as Nigerians. I want to say it's been a great turbulent time, so to say, by a lot of people. Sit down. Can you hear me? Okay, I think we have some feedback. Akpene, can you mute yourself? Or who else is there? So, as I was saying, it's been a great time in Nigeria right now, and it's important for us to meet like this to discuss as peace builders, as peace scholars, as researchers, as a think tank of the nation. We cannot just sit back and say, oh, we don't understand what is going on, or we are not part of it. And that is why it is essential for us to come together at this time to talk about the role of education in ensuring that we actually become a solution, or we bring a solution to the issues around enhancing our peace and development in Nigerian democracy. There has been a lot of questions and a lot of thought around our democracy is 25 years, if I'm not 24 years, no, 25 years, if I'm not mistaken. And for 25 years, what has actually happened? So this conversation is not a straitjacket kind of conversation that is rigid in outlook. It's to expose us to stirring up our minds, to think further into solutions, into what we can do differently. Most of us, the people that are 25 years old child is not a teenager now, is even most 25-year-old are married right now. So it's something that we should think about. Is it a progressive move all the way? What are the things we're doing right, especially looking at education? Is our education really correct? So those are the questions. This is just a platform to stir up that conversation so that we can come up with something very, very practical, something very real that we can either by knowledge or by thinking or by skill we can use in transforming whatever we now later want to do in our different spaces. And I want to use this medium to say welcome again. Please, let's be open-minded. Just like you've seen the lineup of our facilitators, they are well experienced. I want you to be open-minded, jot things down, ensure that one way or the other you see how you can utilize some of the things you will be learning or sharing here with other people. And I believe that after the panel session, we also have time to get your own views on what we are doing right now. Okay, let me just introduce. Okay, I think that message is not for me alone. Please, let's introduce ourselves in the chat box, and we really want to be very fast with this, please. And I believe that with our moderator, the person of Edidion Lawrence, we are going to go speedily. So thank you for joining in. And again, I want to just use this point, possibly towards the end of it. Some of us are not really happy with the state of things. I want you to just be open-minded. Let's see how we can talk into issues and not be emotional about it. So thank you very much, and let's look out for solution for our night, for our country. I'll still possibly be coming back to say one or two things after our discussion. So, but please feel free to communicate via the chat box while we are talking. Thank you very much, and let's have a wonderful time of deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for that very concise introductory remark. We deeply appreciate you. So we are going straight into the technical session. And just to give us background, we are looking at the role of education in enhancing peace and development, but with particular emphasis on democracy, its role in the democratic process, its role in helping us achieve the core aim of democracy. You know, we usually frame democracy as government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So what role can education, or has education been playing, and what more can it do for us in achieving that goal? You know, this is done to help us reflect on how far we have come and what more we can do, you know. So just as a background for us as we move, I hope our speakers are ready. We are starting right away. So also as to give us a context of where we are, what we are trying to understand, the phenomenon we are trying to understand today is in Nigeria we have adult literacy and numeracy rates pegged as at 2018, which is the most obvious data we have, you know, as far as 2018. We have 50 to 60% literacy from 1990 to 2000. But in recent time, according to the World Bank, we have 62% adult literacy rate. That gives us an impression of an improving educational achievement. It points to the fact that, okay, we are making little but progressive step in terms of increasing our educational attainment, in terms of access, and ability for citizens, to engage in literacy and numeracy. But there is also a context we also need to consider, which is that Nigeria is way below the regional score line in terms of Africa and in terms of the global statistics. So, for example, we have the regional average being 65.6% in Africa, and then we have 86.5% globally. This is the complexity of our educational achievement. So at a certain level, at a certain periodic, we are doing well because we see improvement in the data available. But also when compared with the world and even our neighbors in Africa, we see that we are not really doing that much. So this gives us a little context, in that regard. So the first question will go to Dr. Ayo. I hope you are here with us. What is your general impression of our educational achievement, particularly with adult literacy rate? Are you particularly impressed? What is your take, on our achievement so far? Please unmute your mic and share with us. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon all, and happy Democracy Day. Thank you, Lawrence. The role of education in enhancing peace and development in Nigerian democracy. It's a title that fits the day. So if you look at our country, Nigeria, it's said to be the most populous country in Africa. It has actually witnessed its own fair share of political turbulence that is still ongoing, ethnic tensions and economic challenges. It is pertinent that promoting education and enhancing peace and strengthening democracy in Nigeria is a matter of urgency. Looking at our 70% of population being under the age of 30, we have to carry them along, because the role of education for the youthful population, the 70% of us, is inclusion in shaping Nigeria's political, social landscape for peace, justice, and stability. Education and peace, as we all know, are essential pillars for any democratic progress and development, and Nigeria cannot be an exception. But like many nations in Africa, we are facing challenges in consolidating democracy and maintaining peace. Youth can also serve to bring that, looking at the percentage that we have, the 70% of youth in Nigeria are critical players, stakeholders in this context. How many youths are educated? What are the educational structures in Nigeria like? And what is education, by the way? I mean, we've seen our democracy over time. We've made significant strides, no doubt, but there's still room for improvement. There's still a lot to be done. Transitioning from military rule to a multi-party democratic system since 1999. What are our gains? We gained independence in 1960. There are countries that gained independence about the same time we gained independence. There are some that gained after us. We know where they are today. So the nation has experienced a series of military coups that we all know. We have to talk about that because it affects our history, it affects us as a people, and it affects our democratic rule. We all know that a stable democratic government emerged just in 1999. And for me, it's a crippled one. It's a limping democracy. It's not stable. We don't have what it is to actually say we're democratic. Are elections credible? Are leaders credible? These are just questions we should ask ourselves. Following the end of military dictatorship, we keep talking about military rule. Even the democratic that we have, is it actually a democracy? Nigeria has conducted several elections at various levels. We demonstrated progress towards institutionalizing democratic principles. Can that be done without concrete education for our people? People knowing their human rights, the youth knowing that they have a stake, they are critical stakeholders, and they are not tools for democratic leaders, in quotes, who use them for their own personal gains. They should be concerned about the country and concerned about their stake within the system. And education is what can bring that awareness. So we have a whole lot of problems that we need to look at in Nigeria. Governance is one of it, because the Nigerian's key development challenges is one of governance. It cuts across all spheres, economic, education, whatever you think about it. If the governance is faulty, everything else is faulty. It's like a human being whose brain is not functioning. So if you have a brain on your shoulders, a head on your shoulders with a brain, and it's impaired, every other thing in your body is impaired. That's the way I see that kind of country. A country, because these are our drivers. They represent us. The Senate, the House of Rep, the structures that we have in place. If it has problem, we all gonna face that problem. So Nigeria has made progress, no doubt, to sustain democratic rule, but what kind of a democratic rule do we have in place? How do we call ourselves without an education that is stable and progressive? And by the way, what do we mean by education? The education we have in Nigeria, is it the appropriate one that can bring the dividends and bring the kind of leadership that we want in a country as massive as Nigeria, with 70% of its population who are youths, who can barely say anything about a future they don't even know will happen? What kind of education do we deserve? Values education for peace, human rights, democracy, and sustainable development. It is important for Nigeria to develop these values and to inculcate this in the character of our youth, because they are the future of the country. And these character values should include religious values. We know what religion is about in Nigeria. Religion has been used as a tool to divide us. It's been used as a tool to destroy our country. Ethnicity has been used to divide, to further pull us apart. So we need an education that will have religious values, not, I mean, saying go to church and then use a religion to destroy yourself and your country. But the true religion, what we read in the Bible, what we read in the Quran, is what we want to see. How that impacts us. Even if we're religious the traditional way, the values that the traditional religions has, can we just take to that, and then we see an improved country? We need a country with youth that are creative, an education that imbibes creativity, independence, and responsibility, a spirit of nationality, the love of your country. Do we have that? Ask ourselves, every one of us, including myself. At what point do we begin to hate our country? Are we ready to die for a country that has nothing to offer us? How do we make that country a country we can be proud of, that we are ready to say, yes, whatever happens, I'm ready to die for my country, because that is part of me. So the love for our motherland, do we have it? We know what we're talking about. We live in that country. We know what's going on. Do we tolerate? Do we communicate peacefully and accept ourselves and love ourselves and love our environment and accept what God has given to us? These are questions we should ask ourselves. So the role of education is critical. We need a holistic educational concept in Nigeria, an educational concept that develops the whole person, the intellect, the mind, the soul, completely rounded beyond core academics. We know what's happening in Nigeria. We know what's going on. We know that people are not what they say they are. You say you are a doctor, you say you are a lawyer, you say you are an engineer, but when push comes to shove, you can't deliver because of the quality of the education that you have. It's not quality education that we have in Nigeria. When I'm talking about this, I'm not talking about everybody. I'm talking generally. I'm not saying everyone in Nigeria doesn't have education. I'm just saying that the educational system is not good enough. It needs to be improved. It needs to be changed to a concept that works for us as a country. So we're gaining steam in learning, but the truth is that we need to get to where we are. Our curriculum has to be changed to include very important courses like peace education, civic education, history, who we are. We need to know who we are. We need to know where we come from. We need to understand ourselves to be able to live together. So these are the things that our education should contain. Because when you talk about a holistic education, you are talking about a comprehensive approach to teaching, where educators seek to address the emotional, social, ethical, and academic needs of students. But in Nigeria, it's a one-way thing. You go, you cram, you go, you cheat, you go, you book the books, and then you pass an exam that you don't even understand what it's about. All you're interested in getting the certificate. We are a certificate country. We like titles. We like to deceive ourselves. Have a solid education that you are proud of, you are sure of. You can stand anywhere in the world to say that I have the skills and you can deliver. That's what education is about. It's not paper. It's not carrying so many papers and pretending to be educated. It is how you live your life, how you relate to people, how you organize your country, how you organize yourself. That's what education is about. So we need that kind of education where the youths, we know that integrity is very critical. Integrity in everything that we do. So the education that we develop a child's physical, emotional, moral, and psychological, spiritual attributes. I beg your pardon?
Thank you very much, Prof. Prof, you still have more time to give us more information.
Please, I'm not a prof. I'm not a prof, please. I need to correct
Okay, Doc.
Yeah,
Dr. Ayomide. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we'll have the questions in segments. So we'll keep coming back for more as we progress on the program.
Okay,
So
I didn't know that was the method. No problem. I mean,
yeah, yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Doc. Yes.
You're welcome.
Yes. So Prof has said, Doctor has said a lot, and but most of the points here established that yes, we have some challenges as far as education is concerned, particularly linking it up with democratic projections. Is our education enough to help us consolidate on a nascent democracy? Is education enough to help us build on our economic trajectories? Is education enough to help us build on our social tolerance? These are some of the questions she has brought to the fore with her response. Just in the same line, I would like our second speaker to buttress on what she has said. I illustrated some of the data on the level of education, cutting across access, quality, of education. The focus on second speaker. I learned, Professor Angel, share your opinion on what you think, what you meant in Nigeria, especially considering our adult literacy rate. Thank you very much. You have 5 minutes, please. Hello, Dengief, are you here?
No, I think Professor Angela is here, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I
come
mean, I think I was having some network challenges. Thank you. Of course, thank you also for inviting me. Thank you, Hayo, for that quite and elaborate speech. I mean, so Hayo has really laid the foundation for the discourse. The thing is, it is not as though we've not made some form of progress in our education. Some sort of progress has been made. If you look at the fintechs and technological advances of Nigerians, who realize that that is tied to both education, whether it's technical, whether it's the normal formal education through the university system or informal education. But yes, it is very, very true that in Nigeria we have very big challenges of education. One is the problem of teacher quality. It is not just that the teachers are not enough, in various parts of the country. It is also about the quality, how well trained are these teachers? How often do we have retraining exercises, for these teachers? Another problem is the problem of infrastructure, especially in the government schools, whether you talk of the primary school, you talk of the secondary school, or you talk of the university. I mean, nowadays, I mean, at first, really, I mean, a few decades back, it was difficult to say private schools are better than government schools, even in terms of infrastructure, university, even the level of even the quality of the lecturers and teachers that we had. But now, if you look at the ratings of many private schools in Nigeria or even in Africa, you realize that they are doing better than most government-owned schools, and that's basically because of the infrastructure. Infrastructure in terms of, I mean, even things as basic as classrooms, desk and chairs. It's really a very big problem. Ayo has alluded to the fact about curriculum issues, the fact that our curriculum is dated, and and the review of the curriculum itself has become a problem. And she has elaborated on that, and I wouldn't want to spend so much on that. There's also a challenge of funding. Of course, if you schooled in Nigeria, the discussions about strike is not a new thing to us. It is either ASU, or it is SANU, or different layers of educational bodies going on strike. So basically, strike is also part of your academic calendar, and so these things just keeps happening. And why is it so? Basically, it is just the issue about inadequate funding. There's also the challenge of not embracing technology. So from 1960 till now, maybe it would be unfair to say things have not changed, but things have not really changed a lot in terms of even embracing technology. Really, we are in a phase where technology is rapidly growing. Whether you talk of the use of AI and how it influences the educational system and all of that, but then you don't see Nigerian educational systems embracing technology, as such. Well, there are lots of challenges, but I mean, how that relates to democracy and development, as we go on with the discourse, I will touch on that.
Thank you very much, Dengiefa. It's very insightful that you added another layer to the conversation around the progress that we have made, but of course, some of the challenges that are bound, as far as education is concerned. So please, I want to specially recognize the presence of our grandfather of peace peace building, peace education, peace practice is concerned in Nigeria. Professor Albert is with us. He has taught almost all of us in the practice, and I especially want to crave your indulgence to recognize and welcome into this wonderful program. Prof, I think I saw Prof some minutes ago. Prof,
Okay,
you
I
are highly
think,
welcome.
yeah,
You
I
are
don't know. I
recognized.
think you went off now.
Oh, okay. We also have the amiable president of Society for Peace Studies and Practice, Mr. Nathaniel, who is also with us on the call. We are very happy to have you with us. We value your presence, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here, and it was wonderful listening to the speakers before now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. We want to also recognize Prof, who has taken time out of his busy schedule to join us. I don't know if Prof is still here with us. Professor John Egbere, you are highly welcome. We will introduce other participants as we continue the program. So we move. I've learned that Professor Angela is with us now. I will just highlight some of the context in which I would like her to appreciate the questions that our previous speakers have addressed already. So we have an improving access to education. Okay, but there is also a challenge of the gender parity between male and female in Nigeria. So according to our data, the same World Bank data, we have this gender parity rate between male and female to be up to 15%, across board. So, and particularly the context of violence, in certain parts of the country, questions of cultural practices, that effectively affect the gender dimensions of access and quality of education. So we'd like you to share with us, particularly in reference to the question that have been addressed, what is your general impression of our educational achievement as far as Nigeria is concerned? Thank you very much, Prof.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
We
Hello?
can hear you, Prof.
Okay,
Yes,
all
we
right.
can hear you.
Sorry, good morning.
Yes, we can hear you.
Good morning, ma'am. Hello, can I continue?
Yes, go ahead, ma. Go ahead, ma.
All right. Sorry, good morning. Sorry for coming late. I had challenges. I thought I had it sorted out when I came in last night, but anyway, that's what's under the bridge now. So the speakers, I've listened keenly to the speakers that's spoken before me, and they've all painted the vivid picture of the quality of our education in Nigeria. And I just don't want to overflog issues because they've given a very vivid picture of our situation in terms of quality, in terms of access, and even in terms of funding. Now, in terms of access, and then in the context of the gender parity of education in Nigeria, we know that there is a huge gap in terms of access to education based on gender. We've had studies that have revealed, a very low representation of female students in our educational sector rather, and that cuts across board from primary to secondary to tertiary, all across the 3 levels of education that we practice in our country, there is a huge gap when it comes to gender equality. And I also want to just throw more light here that that inequality also is not, that inequality also cuts across the states that you are looking at. So if you're looking at the eastern states, for example, and some parts of the eastern states, for example, you have inequality in terms of more female students than you have male in some parts of our eastern states. And if you come up north, where I reside, the opposite is the case, where you have low female students or low female enrollment in schools. So, and it boils down to so many factors based on culture, based on the ethnic group or ethnic tribes, as it were. In the north, for example, because of the plethora of conflicts that we've experienced over the years, and even prior to that, culturally, there has been a low premium paid on the girl child education in the north from reasons alluding to culture, religion, and what have you. And much more recently, insecurity that has been the bane of this sector has been a major, setback for female enrollment in schools. And when you talk about the quality, of this education, like I said earlier, the speakers have all, given us the reasons why we are lacking behind in terms of our educational system in Nigeria. And quality, like we know, is an issue that has been talked about, and that is an issue that is the major crux of our educational system in Nigeria. So that has equally impeded on the enrollment, of boys and girls in school. I want to stop there now and then allow other speakers to talk.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you very much. So I was struck with the data of the reverse, when we have male underschooled, in terms of enrollments in the Southeast, so I would usually not be tilted towards that searching for that kind of data. But I know that predominantly there is a gap in terms of male to female. So I will usually say, oh, we have less female in school. But thank you, Prof, for that very insight. We'll look closer to that kind of data next time. So just to build on that, we'd like to get a sense of the relationship between education and democracy. Prof, please, we have 35% affirmative action that the government has been, singing about. But in the last election that was conducted in 2023, we had 2.7% and 4.7% of representation of women in the National Assembly. That is 3 out of 109 senators and 17 out of 360 House of Reps. So I would like you to give us an idea, a context, so what the relationship could be, between education, low access, we talked about it in Nigeria, and to democracy, which for us, I think is not even good that we are having to, engage in less than 3%, of representation of women in National Assembly. So, Prof, please share more light on this challenge. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, moderator. I want to just start on the premise that, which we all know, or most participants agree upon, that education is a key component to any human development. For us to achieve any social or change or any meaningful social goal, we require education. It has also been said, and which I agree to too, is that for us to bring about any meaningful social change, members of the community must be determined, to members of the community must be determined to bring about social change by changing conditions and what have you via education. So there is no doubt anywhere in the world that education is key to development. Now, having quality representation anywhere requires education. Bringing it down to our climb and in the context of poor representation in politics by women, or of women rather, still boils down to the fact that over the years we've had, low representation of female in schools, and you agree with me that you cannot come out to assert yourself if you've not been given a voice. What education does for you is that it empowers you, it gives you a voice to express your opinion and assert yourself, particularly in our own climate that is highly patriarchal. So the level of education over the years, the access of education over the years, access to, in terms of you being a female, whether at any level that I'd established earlier, has further impeded, the level of participation of women in politics. I don't even want to go into our peculiar political context in Nigeria. You know that we don't have an ideal political context in Nigeria. Our political context is peculiar and peculiar to only us. There are so many issues that have affected us, affected female participation in politics and what have you. That is another story for the day. But the point I want to make today is that the level of education that that women or females in Nigeria have been exposed to, has has done more harm than good in the terms that in terms that, one, there is an imbalance in our educational system. And what this does is that it has the rippling effect. So one of the rippling effects is the low representation, the low number of voices we have at decision-making level, like the parliament, which further impedes on representation, which further impedes on the representation of women within that sector, and how they can bring their voices to be heard within that sector. So it's more of a vicious circle. If you have an educated population, it's going to impede on participation at whatever level you find yourself. The access to education will equally impede on the quality of representation. So you agree with me that because we've had low representation, very low representation, and like the numbers you have enumerated, proves that because we've had low representation or low enrollment of women or girls in schools,
Thank you very much, Prof, for that very wonderful insight. So for us, Prof has said, education is the means of socioeconomic positive change in any society, and she deeply agrees that without access or low access to education, it is even difficult for women, particularly to even assert themselves in society, to be opinionated, and then even talk about seeking political change through elections and all of that. Thank you very much, Prof. We have Professor Halbert is back with us. Please, Prof, I know your schedule is very tight, but we are very, very happy to have you with us. We'll please plead that you give us your brief thoughts on the theme today before you exit the session. Please kindly give us your general take on the role of education on democracy, especially looking at issues of peace and development, which is one of the key roles of education. Thank you very much, Prof. You are welcome.
Thank you very much. Sorry that I've not been stable on your program. I'm multitasking. I have several meetings I'm attending, but I'm interested in your subject matter, and I think that's why I tried to tune in. And I listened very keenly to some of the submissions, and the last one has to do with atomization of women in development processes. They are denied access to education, and the educated ones among them are not given the opportunities to serve. Well, to me, I think this is a general problem. I speak as a university professor, and I would say that, yes, I struggled. My parents struggled to give me education, but I represent one of the most suppressed and oppressed people in Nigeria. My education is inconsequential in terms of being able to influence the Nigerian society. I'm more useful to the international community than Nigeria. If you Google search Isaac Olale Albert, I'm a big figure globally. But my country does not need me. A country that has reduced governance to attempting just school certificates. I mean, to be anything in Nigeria today, the law of the land says that once you just have evidence that you have attended school certificate examination, then you are fit and you are good to go. Now, these are the people leading us. Now, if the worst educated are leading the best educated, of course, you begin to ask yourself whether education can actually influence development. My brain is better used outside Nigeria than within Nigeria. Now, this is a worrisome development. In the year 1968, a scholar, Paulo, published a book which I think is known to some of us, and it's called Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And in that publication, the author tried to link education, power, and social justice. And his conclusion is that if you are educated, you are empowered to influence and affect your society. But he concluded that having the education is not enough. That having the education will be consequential only if the educated are in charge of your society. But he argued that when the educated are not in charge of the society, part of our roles as educated people is to try as much as possible to use our knowledge to challenge the development process. Of course, we have not been able to do this in Africa. If you are educated and you try to use your education in social activism, you are most likely to be locked up. You are most likely to be denied all kinds of things in the society. So when you look at the pedagogy of the oppressed, you begin to see how that manifests, affects Nigerian society. Now, where you are not using your knowledge to promote social justice, you will do what we are doing in Nigeria. And what we're doing in Nigeria is called banking model of education. I package the education, I package what I want to teach, and I assume that those that I'm teaching are idiots. I tell them what I want to tell them, and if they fail to return to me what I told them, and then they fail. But those of them who are able to remember that Mungo Park discovered River Niger they become first-class materials, and then we begin to celebrate them as the best educated. Now, the question is whether this type of education is what we really need. Because when you go to the Western world, their own educational system is framed in a way that can affect their society. We have the largest deposit of mineral resources in Africa or in the world. Africa has the largest deposit of mineral resources in the world. But geology is not a popular discipline in Africa. You are not encouraged to study geology. You are not encouraged to study mining. All you are expected to do is to study medicine and law. Now, the point I'm trying to make is that we need to decolonize our education. And decolonization of education starts with asking ourselves, what kind of knowledge do we need? Knowledge for what? Whose knowledge? Because if with SchoolSat, you can become Senate president, it tells you that, look, this knowledge we are talking about may not be as consequential as we think. Now, in the year I can't remember now, I think 1984, Professor Emmanuel Anyadele published a book called The Educated Elite and the Nigerian Society, in which he challenged us to begin to take another look at ourselves as educated beings. Of what value are we to our society? And I think I ask myself that question anytime I come back to Nigeria from any part of the world, of what value I am. Yes, I'm giving out knowledge, I'm developing peace and conflict studies. But how many of my peace and conflict studies students are graduates, are employed? They are not employed. Go to all the agencies of the federal government dealing with conflict management. You know, those working there necessarily don't need to have any qualification in peace and conflict studies. You know, that is the kind of society we are building. A society where professionals are not allowed to operate, a society where knowledge is not important. Now, in 1988, Professor Dr. Tandika, I mean, I'm speaking, you know, I'm moving outside Nigeria now. A former executive secretary of Codestria published a book titled Intellectuals, Rethinking Politics, Language, Gender, and Development. You know, where he also challenged us, you know, to begin to see those of us who are educated as agents of change. You know, we need to challenge our society. But the problem is, if your society does not provide the room for itself to be challenged, if a university professor is paid $300 a month, so you begin to say, look, how can knowledge, how can we actually challenge the existing system and be able to reorder it? If the lecturer that is teaching you is not feeding well and has not paid the school fees of his children, so how do you expect him now to say the most important thing for him is building a nation? So there is a need for us to restructure everything in Nigeria. Unfortunately, Nigeria is a product of elite state capture. Some people have captured Nigeria, and they do not want Nigeria to change from where it is. So we have to keep talking. And that is why I have to commend those who put this meeting together today. I can see several of my friends and students online. So let's keep talking. I know one day things will change. The last person that spoke talked about marginalization of women. And I laugh when I go to meetings and I see this problem everywhere. You see, a society flies with two wings. A society is like a wing. Men constitute one of the wings. Women constitute one of the wings. Now, when you suppress your second wing and you say you are airborne, are you not deceiving yourself? Now, you are deceiving yourself. The more you marginalize women, the more you are deceiving yourself. And I'm waiting for that day when we will stop deceiving ourselves by allowing women to occupy the rightful place in their rightful places in the society. Now, we are in a knowledge economy. And a knowledge economy is saying that knowledge drives the world. But when we say we don't care about knowledge, then we know that we are being driven to nowhere. So that is the tragedy, you know, of our membership of the Nigerian state. But we should not feel tired about it. We should keep talking. And I'm sure that one day, I don't want to say monkey will go market, no go come back. One day, things will change positively for us in this nation. But for now, those leading us are not interested in development. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Wow, thank you so much, Prof. Thank you so much, Prof.
Thank you, it's a pleasure. Please, I sign out.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. It's a great pleasure having Prof around. Thank you so much. Lawrence, over to you.
Thank you very much, Prof. On behalf of all of us that are on this call, I will especially want to appreciate you for that wealth of knowledge. In fact, as I was taking my notes, I got stuck at some point because there's so much to digest. Summary of what Prof has said. I agree with most of what previous persons have also mentioned. There is really not much we can do without an investment in education. Education that is transformative, education that empowers us to act in the way that society moves from point A to B. But where much of it has been captured by the less educated, in quotes, we are in a very serious trouble. Thank you very much, Prof, once again. We'll move. Time is fast spent. Time flies so much when once you have anything doing, you know. We'll move to the next question, which is on democracy. Let's make a sense of our our journey in so far in democracy. You know, so in 1999, we marked from 1999 till today, we have marked a consistency in electoral democracy. That is, we have not had any form of interruption by the military, which was very predominant before 1999. We've had a consistent state of democracy. We have the National Assembly actively performing its duties. We have the legislature, we have the judiciary, and of course the executive. But how far have we made progress? I would like, in recent times, just to highlight, give us a context. Last election saw the youth, who make up a larger portion of our demography. We saw the youth actively involved in politics, in participating in politics. That for me marked a watershed, you know, for a population that usually thought of as being uninterested in political activities. But we saw the youth actively involved, making their voice known in terms of politicking. So we want to hear from our speaker. We have Mr. Dengi Elfa, please share with us your take on our achievement as a country. Just focus on 1999 till date. What have we done? Yeah, there are some challenges, but what have we been able to achieve so far? And so we can just oppose this with education and see what way forward. How have we done so far? Thank you, please. Mr. Dengi Elfa, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. The two professors that spoke before me. It's very, very difficult to speak after professors have spoken, but yes. Well, I mean, so from 1999 till now, we've had what people would call an uninterrupted, period of democracy. I don't like to call it uninterrupted because it really has been interrupted by quite a lot of things, including election violence, including ethnicity, weak institutions, and all of that. So maybe preferably I like to call it, a civil rule, really, because democracy exists in a continuum. So at the very barest minimum, you have the conduct of elections. But democracy is way, way, way beyond just the periodic conduct of elections, really. But yes, this is not to say that we've not made, some kind of progress. We've made some kind of progress. The very fact that we've been able to conduct elections, no matter how difficult it is, shows that we've made some kind of progress. I mean, look around West Africa. We are, surrounded by cool belts, whether you're talking about Burkina Faso, whether you're talking about Mali, whether you are talking about Niger, they are all under military regimes. For the fact that for 25 years, we've been able to keep conducting elections, no matter how flawed it is something that we need to, pat ourselves on the back on to say possibly, we have done well. Within this period, we've also experimented quite a lot of things, from basically, starting from a very manual electoral process. We've adopted, technologies at various points in time. From the card reader that we experimented, we moved over to the bimodal voters verification machine that we piloted in the last elections. So even in terms of technology, we've actually made some kind of progress. I'm not saying it is the ideal. I'm not saying it is a perfect system. And in fact, I like to refer to Nigerian democracy as more of a civil rule than democracy. Don't tell my employers that, please. But even in terms of documentations, the laws that govern our electoral process, we've also made some kind of progress. So if you look at the 2007 elections, I like to give example with that. That election was conducted, and it brought in Yar'Adua to power. Yar'Adua basically, openly said the election that brought me to power was flawed, and then he had the Ways Commission, basically trying to see how we can get electoral reform. After then, they made some recommendations, and over the years, we now have a new Electoral Act. The Electoral Act also have shown to be flawed in many instances, but at least we have some document that speaks to an improved document that speaks to an an electoral process. Of course, politicians and political parties and even institutions are still looking at the loopholes and exploiting the loopholes. But yet, at least we have a document that, an improved document that speaks to our electoral processes. That is not really, or looking, if you look at INEC and the appointment of, electoral officers in INEC, it is not the best yet, but yet it has still improved. We had a situation where INEC was basically captured, basically captured. And, if you look at 2007 election, I mean, again, you will not find, and I mean, everybody here can go and see if you can find that, because at the Center for Democracy and Development where I work and within my period of research, I've not been able to find. You will not find a state breakdown of the election result of 2007. Nowhere, even INEC does not have it. And in fact, when that election was going on, in some places, the result was already announced. That was how captured INEC was. I mean, but today we still have situations where INEC is still under the control. We can see the appointment of the regional electoral commissioners and how politically inclined they are. I mean, some are basically partisan people, but really I would say that we've made, some progress. And of course, kudos to the Nigerian people, kudos to civil society organizations, kudos to academics that have been saying we should do the right thing. So we've come a very, very long way. Because I will soon be leaving because I want to catch a flight for another program in Benin. I will just quickly link the relationship between education, democracy, and then of course development. So the thing is that I will usually give this analogy. If you step into a shopping complex and you want to get a product, if you don't have knowledge of that product, you will buy anything. And that for me explains the relationship between education and then democracy. So for example, during the Plato, I can get the feedback. I mean, so during the time of Aristotle and Plato, basically called democracy. I can get the feedback from Adiza. Yeah, so I was saying during the time of Plato and Aristotle, they basically called democracy the government of the mob. And that is because they felt like the majority of persons, the majority of the populace did not have knowledge. So for them, it was dangerous to give government to people, decision-making powers to people that don't have that level of knowledge. So I mean, democracy itself survives on knowledgeable individuals, because if you don't have knowledge, probably the kind of democracy you're going to be having is simply democratizing poverty, democratizing illiteracy, because they're basically sharing, decision-making powers to people that do not really have knowledge. And that is why, if you look at the last election, what came to fore was not an interrogation of the manifestos of our leaders. And in fact, I don't know how many people really in Nigeria saw the Renewed Hope manifesto. I don't know how many people saw the Peter Obi manifesto. The whole issue was about identity. It was about generation, the young and the old. It was about religion. So issues of intellectuality, issues of knowledge, we actually brought, we're swept under the carpet. And because and that basically speaks to our level of knowledge, because for a very knowledgeable man that is schooled in values and intellectuality, in learning and then in character, it will interrogate the manifestos of these people and to read, and it would have realized that government is about the people, and really in an ideal situation, it is not about where a person comes from, but when you have someone that has the interest of the people in power, or even a very good manifesto, in power, it democratizes the public good to every single person, really. So for me, in summary, people can hardly operate beyond the level of their knowledge, whether in politics, whether in democracy. So really, the education, in whatever sense, has a link with the kind of democracy that we have. Whether in terms of the fact that at an internet age now, there's so much misinformation and all of that. Many of the citizens do not have fact-checking skill, so they share information here and there, causing conflict. Most of the pictures that were shared during the elections in Lagos, because we operate at Center for Democracy and Development, we operate a fact-checking hub. Most of the pictures that were spread in Lagos about armies beating up people and all of that, some of them were not even pictures from Nigeria. Some of the videos were not even videos from Nigeria. But do citizens have the skills to fact check? I mean, that's a different level of education. I mean, do citizens have the skills to fact check? We're not talking about AIs and deep fakes. Do citizens have the skills to fact check? So there's really a very deep connection between democracy, the education and the level of democracy that we have and development. I mean, I've taken quite a lot of time. Let me allow other speakers to speak.
Thank you very much, Dengi. I honestly want to thank all our facilitators for the effort. I can feel it from where I am now. I can feel the effort to share deep knowledge for all those of us that are able to meet to this session. So for me, the summary is that our level of education cannot just be put in a linear form or a linear sense of go to school, get a degree, and all that. But there are levels of skills, there are layers of skills that needs to be engaged when participating in politics. So, for example, as you stated, fake news. What level of education do you have? What skills do you have to know what is fake, what is propaganda, and what is real? Thank you very much, Dengi, for that very wonderful insight. We appreciate you greatly. We will please ask one of our participants, who is also a big player in terms of peace building in Nigeria. And I know for a fact he's also very interested in education as a solid structure for national development, for democracy, for peace. The president of Society for Peace Studies and Practice. So please give us his opinion, his insights on the topic for today, please. Thank you, sir.
Lawrence, thank you very much for such wonderful facilitation. I'd like to confirm if you can hear me, please.
Yes, we can hear you clear.
Thank you very much. I think the theme of this conference, this meeting is not only important, it's also crucial on the day when we're celebrating Democracy Day. I heard Dengi talk about whether it is uninterrupted democracy or whether it's just civil rule. I'm proud of you, Dengi. I still remember at times working together. I'm truly proud of you. To me, the issue of whether education contributes or can contribute to peace and development is the function of the kind of education that is offered. And that goes beyond the number of subjects, whether the school fees is high, whether you're in the urban center or so on. It is about the principles around which the educational system that guides the entire curriculum and how it is delivered, and the co-curriculum activities and programs, and how they are both organized and delivered and monitored for impact. And it begins at the basic level. So for those of us who grew up at a time when there was no nursery education, it begins at the primary level. For those who started when there was a kindergarten and primary school, of course, it begins at that level. What are the principles that guide the educational system that operates in Nigeria, since we're talking about Nigeria's Democracy Day? And I'd like to just say, it's sometimes for Nigerian system, sometimes it's difficult to say what really are the principles, because some of the principles are contradictory. If you are trying to raise Nigerians that are noble in character and can contribute to peace and development, and at the same time, the school is operating in an environment that promotes ethnicity, tribe, religious chauvinism, and such other things, then those people that are passing through that kind of educational system are not going to be better than their teachers. They probably are going to be worse. Now, just to give an example, I started, and Lawrence, you're correct. I'm not just interested in education. My first line of work for the first 10 years I worked was teaching. I was involved in teaching. And I was privileged to work with an international educational organization called the Lassallean Institute. Some people call it the De La Salle Brothers. I worked with them for 10 years, and they have few core principles that guide what they do. The first one is inclusive community. So yes, the children are being prepared through a school system and may graduate with the primary school certificate or secondary school certificate or technical education certificate. But the principle for the school was inclusive community. So the school was building character, building children up that would grow up to promote a whole community. The second principle was respect for all persons. So when you were in that school, it didn't matter if you were the child of a wealthy person or a poor person. Everybody was treated equally, and they knew that they all had equal rights. This thing I see around, teachers beating students, senior students beating junior students, it was a strange thing in that school. And so the dignity of the child was built in such a way that every child believed, I can be anything I choose to be. The third principle was faith. It promoted faith. Now, that is an underrated principle. A lot of us are either Christian or Muslim or other kind of religion, but we don't operate on the principles of faith. Faith helps you to aspire better than just intellect. It helps you to believe more than your whole level of qualification. But the fifth one was committed to the poor. So what does an educational system that is committed to the poor do? It makes sure the children who come into the educational system, who may be less privileged, financially speaking, than the other ones, grow up to be able to overcome poverty in their lives and in their lineages. That was the kind of system. Now, between 1996 and 2005, I worked with that system to the point I became head of the development. I established a development office for them in Nigeria. And I look back the past several years, I have not been able to count any of the students that passed through that system while I was there that is jobless. A number of them are people working as some of them are approaching associate professorship, or they are employers, or they are working in other locations. I can't count any of them that goes around the street begging, because they were prepared to be able to take care of themselves. Now, I don't know the kind of principles that our educational system teaches that makes our graduates. Sometime I was not in the country and I listened to a Nigerian PhD holder. I was embarrassed because that was international TV. I listened to a PhD holder complain on television. I don't know whether that was Channels Television back then. That was more than 20 years ago. I listened to a PhD holder complaining that he could not find a job. And I sat in the room with two other colleagues, one of who was an Eritrean and the other was an American. And they both turned and looked at me. And they couldn't understand how somebody who had PhD in Nigeria would not be, have a job to do. But, that's the kind of system we produce, right? Now, let me just try to wrap up very quickly by saying that I had the privilege as an undergraduate to pass through an educational system, not the Nigerian university system, an undergraduate program where I was studying philosophy. So you would expect that it's philosophical studies, yes, and you're correct. But for the 4 years of that program, the curriculum was designed to make you an all-rounder, so that when you're discussing philosophy, you discussed it in a manner that contributed to real society. So for the 4 years I was studying philosophy, I also studied sociology for 4 years. It was, there. I was made to study Latin. I was made to study Greek. I was made to study Hebrew. I was made to study French. Because they said, if you are going to study philosophy, you should understand the etymological concepts. In other words, the source of the concepts that you're using. But that goes beyond just understanding concepts. It goes to the point of understanding the values that the language we speak represent. I studied sociology. I studied history. I studied all kinds of things. So what kind of educational system are we offering? When our students pass through the school system, they come out and they cannot speak good English. They cannot write, an article. They cannot sit for an interview and qualify for a good job. I think we need to interrogate all of these things very thoughtfully, especially as we celebrate a day we call Democracy Day. And as we look at a society where from 2011 to today, 2024, Nigeria has passed through more than 10 cycles annually of violent conflicts that have resulted in the displacement of whole communities, the loss of livelihoods. If today you ask for 5 tubers of yam and they tell you to pay 15,000 naira, you are shocked. But a few years ago, you would buy that for 2,500. What is the reason? Insecurity. So Nigeria has gone to that level where we're like this. But where did we get it wrong? The educational system. What are we teaching our young people? And so I thank you for the opportunity to speak at this point. And I think as we proceed and as we wrap, and I apologize, I will have to exit because I have another meeting to join. I really wished I could stay to the end. But as we go towards concluding this conversation, I think if we can focus around, and I hope there's going to be a communique from this meeting that will be shared to people that are policymakers, because it's a very important meeting. I listened to everybody that spoke, and these are people, respectable people speaking. And I'm honored to have listened to the founder of the society I preside over, Professor Isaac Olawale Albert, speak about the issues as he sees them and as we all would agree with. I hope that this meeting leaves us more reflective about how to make the education system work for peace, security, and development in Nigeria and Africa. Because 1 out of 5 Africans is from Nigeria, so the statistics give us. If Nigeria goes right, like we always say, Africa will go right. And so it's a crucial conversation we're having. And I thank everybody. Let me also add a voice to say, because I'm privileged to also have served on the board of PEPNET, to also thank everybody that is here for the great work that PEPNET is doing, bringing people together to listen. Thank you for the opportunity. Back to you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. We are overwhelmed. I think even the participants agree that there is an information overload for today's session. We are very grateful. We are very grateful. So as a summary of what Mr. Nathaniel said, our education must have basic principles that solve our societal problem. There are core principles that cannot be deviated from. There are core principles that have to be the foundation in which say you are interested in politics. It is those principles that you then use, in applying, in a political space. It is those principles you use. So if you're already practicing ethnic sentiments in your basic education, you do the same thing in the political space. So we sincerely thank everyone who has spoken so far. So time is just running. Dr. Ayo, please let's hear your thoughts on our journey so far as democracy is concerned, and do well to also give us your final thoughts on the way forward, specifically what can education help us do better? What can education help us get better? What is the extras that education can give to us as a tool, and what policy, personal, advice or suggestion would you give us, to improve our peace and development index, especially considering what role education plays? Thank you, Dr. Ayo.
Thank you. It's nice listening to Professor Isaac and Professor Angela and the last speaker, all the speakers. I'm impressed. And we have the human resources in Nigeria, but they're not being put to use. We have the wrong people in many places, like Professor Isaac rightly said, and we need to get it right. As always, we say that if Nigeria gets it right, Africa gets it right. That's true, absolutely. We can't get it right without educated citizens, as we have all been saying since morning. I mean, if your citizens are not educated, what quality? I mean, you can't give what you don't have. We need well-educated citizens, and we need skills revolutions, because that underpins science, technology, innovation, social capital, everything that can make us what we are and what we should be. The truth is that decolonizing education, I was going to come to that. Professor Isaac is so, I mean, how do I say it? He said it in a way that captures the situation. When you say decolonizing education, he's telling us that the education system itself, we're there as it is when we were being colonized, when we were colonized by the British. So the system that were in place were to work for that colonized system, for that for the British people. There were structures of oppression, structures of colonialism, and we still have it in place up to today. So we need an education that serves us, for good governance, for democracy, respect of human rights, justice, rule of law. And when you say human rights, as Dr. Angela is saying, you're talking about gender. There's no way you can leave half of you behind and succeed. It's not going to work. So we need both wings, like Professor Isaac rightly said, to fly. No birds fly on one wing. It's going to crash, So we need to put our acts together and respect democratic values, practices, universal principles for human rights, for gender justice, and education, universal education, quality education, not what we have now. Education that decolonizes our mind. It's not education that you just go and cram. No, education that serves us, that serves our purpose, that serves our context, our peculiarity, what it is that is Nigerian, who are Nigerians, and who are we, and what we stand for. So we need an education that serves us, that brings the dividends of democracy. And that education is critical, and it should be available to the poor. We know what poverty is. We've been hearing about how how expensive things are. I mean, the inflation rate in Nigeria and all that. These are all artificial things. They are in place because we are not doing the right thing. We're not supposed to be poor people, and being poor as a Nigerian is something we should ask ourselves, because we are not doing the right things. And it starts with our education. When the education is quality, it's holistic, it's educating the whole person. We will see what we should see. We'll see democracy working. We see economy working. Everything works. And when you talk about holistic education, character comes in, civic education comes in, knowing your history, knowing the value of democratic structures, knowing that you have a stake in a country, knowing that your leaders are your servants, They are not your boss. They are not your Lord. They are not your God. And in Nigeria, we think too much of our leaders, and we don't even have leaders, by the way. We have people who steal from us and who are not even educated. Some may claim to go to school, because if they are actually educated, they won't go there and steal. They won't go there and destroy the country. So for me, I'm saying that we need to fight to get back what is ours. Nigeria belongs to all of us. Everyone is a stakeholder. We need to get what belongs to us. We need to sanitize the country. We need to sanitize. Professor Isaac said we have a capture of our governance. That is exactly how I think. And I feel that we've been captured. We're worse than a colonized country. When the British were there, we didn't buy a tuber of yam for the price you're buying today. So we should ask ourselves questions. Are we really independent? Are we really a country? Do we have democracy? Even watching the democratic, the speech today, what happened there, we all saw it, I saw it, I shook my head. History is being, changed. We know what the history of Nigeria is, and we know who fought for Nigeria, those who paid the price. Civil wars, those who paid the price. The democracy, those who paid the price, even at the cost of their lives. We know them. They're not being celebrated. We know who are. So we need to ask questions in Nigeria. Bottom line, we ask questions, we demand answers, because it's our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you very much. As educated citizens, we need to ask questions. We need to demand for questions. That is to say, we should not run away and say, "Oh, we are scholars. We are peace builders. We cannot, ask questions, so we don't get into trouble. So we don't, have problem with those in power." We have to build the courage to ask those questions. Asking those questions also imply participating as much as possible, sharing our thoughts, our opinion, our political position on certain things. That is how we get the place. That is how we get the questions answered. Oh, thank you very much, Doc, for that very insightful comment. I am just been informed that we have with us one of our founding member, Mr. Jato Adavizie. You are highly recognized and welcome to today's event, sir. So quickly, I don't know if Dengue Efa is here.
Thank you so much. I'm grateful.
You're welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir. Professor Angela, please give us your final thoughts on the role of education, in enhancing peace development within the context of democracy. Give us insights, like a final thought on what is it for gender? What is the ramifications for then gender, and what can we do? What actions, simple little actions that can help us achieve or resolve some of the issues that has been raised on today's call? Thank you, Prof. Hello, Prof, are you there? Okay, Dengue Efa is still here. So please give us your final thought, please. Give us your final thought on the subject matter, please. Just tell us what way forward. What should we do? What should we do? How do we go about it, so that we keep improving our index? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity once more. Well, I mean, just to say that, just to repeat again, that people hardly operate beyond the level of their knowledge. And, when people have low levels of knowledge, politics becomes ethnic, and it becomes very violent. It becomes very primordial. I mean, it lacks basic values. And just to say that when we talk about education, we should always know that education is about values. It's about values, really. And if you're not a tolerant person, if you don't accommodate, if you're not open to different ideas, we need to begin to question your education, because education is really about values, and those are values of tolerance, and those values promote peace and stability. Let's not all, I mean, just to conclude by saying that if you look at all of the violent situations that we've had in Nigeria, go and check the level of education. Look at the Northwest with banditry. Look at the Northeast with the Boko Haram situation. Those are places that they have the high levels of out of school children. And to make it worse, really, now they are in school, they are chased out by violence. And I tell people that it's a different ball game now, because really when they are in school, they have all of the issues of kidnapping. We have we noted the issue about 10 years of the Chibok girls, kidnapping in Nigeria. And when they are out of school, they also do not really have the skill to, to manipulate nature, to make a living for themselves. So they also become, easy recruiting ground for terrorists. So when they are not, when they are in school, they are not safe. When they are out of school, they don't also have the skills, so they are not safe. So the future really looks, very, 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 very bleak. And the government, has to do something in terms of education. Education that instills the right values of patriotism, of discipline, of morality in the individual. Because above all, without morality, without education built on values, Nigeria will not go anywhere, and our democracy also would not really go anywhere without uneducated citizens.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Dengefa. Prof is back now.
Yes, I'm on. I'm on.
Okay, Prof, please give us your final take. Time is just flying.
Okay, so I was saying,
Yes,
saying I'm not a prof, but thanks for the honors anyway.
Okay, well noted. Well noted.
All right, final thoughts. I think one thing we have all agreed upon at today's meeting is that education is key. It's key to our development. It drives development. And I want to say what Professor Abbott said, that education drives the economy. So we've all agreed that education is key. Now, wherever that education takes place, in the family, place of worship, community, school, or wherever it takes place, we've also agreed that it is a primary medium through which a knowledge, culture, and what have you is systematically transmitted. And transmitted to do what? To achieve social change. So we know that education is key. Now, bringing it to our own reality, we know that education-wise, we have lost it because we have neglected our future generation, the young ones. We've neglected the current generation in terms of giving education. Like the last speaker spoke, he said, check out all the conflicts that have taken place in Nigeria. Who are the foot soldiers? They are those that are, they are the less educated in the society. You won't find children of the elite. You won't find the elite, perpetrating acts of violence during conflict situations. It is those that lack education, whether it is formal or informal, that are the perpetrators of violence. So education, like has already been established, is very, very pertinent to our development as a nation. Now, bringing in the issue of gender, like you have asked me to do, is that we cannot neglect a significant portion. And Dr. Ayo too established it, Professor Abbott established it, that you cannot fly on one wing. We need both gender, male and female, all to be on board this flight so that we can soar high and get to our destination. But for as long as we keep neglecting a significant wing, permit me to use Dr. Ibert's analogy, wing of this flight, then we are not going to go anywhere. We are not going to go anywhere. What education does in the context of gender and peace is that it gives you an enlightenment that we are both partners in progress. Both genders are partners in progress. It gives the enlightenment that there is a gender experience, or sorry, gender differentiation when it comes to analyzing the issues of conflict. It gives you knowledge that conflict is a gendered activity, as it were. And you need to know, you need knowledge to be able to analyze the implications, the experiences of conflict, and then bring about solutions that we resolve those conflicts. So the bottom line is that education is imperative in our democracy. It is imperative in our knowledge. I'm so glad about the point other speakers have made, that we are a reflection of what our educational system has become, where you have people that are the least educated running the hands of affairs. And you know what that the consequence is what we are facing now: poor governance, inflation, joblessness, unemployment, and what have you. So education is a system that should be serving and not deserving us, as we have it in our country now. It is a system that should place the duty bearer and enlighten the duty bearer of its duties. But what we have now is an educational system that has placed the duty bearers over the rights bearers. And so you see right bearers, serving duty bearers instead of the other way around. I beg to stop here now.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Angela. Our education must empower us to participate effectively in development and issues of peace. But most importantly, if we don't invest in the other wing of the gender spectrum, we will still be in the same problem. If we don't value the importance, the potentials that the other gender brings to the table, we will continue to neglect them. We'll continue to put them out of the system, as we have seen in the National Assembly, which is also defective for a society that wants to develop, for a society that wants peace. Thank you very much. I already established that time is flying. We just started by 12 and it's already 1:51. It's crazy. Okay, so we'll take two questions from the participants. Honestly, it's not what we would want to do, but because of time, we would like to get to please just raise your hand with an emoji on the call. We'll give you the floor to speak. We have Shei Logun and who else? We'll just give it to two persons before we wrap up for today's session. Okay, we have Baba Wale.
Please,
that's the second person.
We will need to still open it
for
gender reasons. Okay,
for gender reason, please. One person should also we need a representative, please. We are not like the National Assembly.
Please, I'm being muted. I cannot raise hand.
Oh, okay. Okay, please, Adiza, go ahead, please, since you have already unmuted yourself. Please go ahead and make your comment.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I would like to appreciate the efforts of the organizers of this meeting and all the knowledge that is being shared to us. We really appreciate. And then I would like to, we'll be looking forward to another maybe exciting or knowledgeable another meeting like this. Thank you very much from Zamfara State. That's all I can say.
Thank you very much for that commendation. We appreciate
Yeah.
you greatly for joining us, for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. We appreciate you, Adiza. Shay Logun, please go ahead and share your thoughts.
All right. Thank you so much, Lawrence. Good afternoon, everyone. All right. My comment was initially going to come as a question, but it's been answered by one of the speakers while they spoke. So I'm just going to share it. So one of the important parts of democracy is elections. And one of the things that affect our elections so much, especially in Nigeria, is electoral violence. All right. So I try to democracy on electoral violence. Okay, because we see that literacy is on the rise. More people are going to school, but we are still experiencing some of the problems that we had 30 years ago when literacy was not as high as this, when the percentage wasn't this high. So what then is the problem? Why do we have killings? Why do we have assassinations? Now, on Sunday, in one of our PepNet chats, we talked about the Mexican general elections. Mexico, the general elections in Mexico, and how they've had about at least 37 assassinations. You wonder, a country like Mexico, that seems to be doing okay, relatively okay, is having 37 assassinations. Is it that the people don't know what to do, or is it that the people are not being taught right? Now, the answer I got from one of the speakers, I think it was Professor Albert, is that we are learning. People are being literate, and one of the things I've been saying for so long, that we are literate. A lot of us are literate, but we are not imbibing what we learn in our daily living. We're not applying the things that we learn in schools, in our colleges, on conferences like this, in seminars and workshops. They're not being applied to the larger life. So for us to have a change, for us to have development, for us to have sustainable democracy, all of this knowledge that we teach ourselves, that we claim to learn, of course, we still have the problem of restructuring the educational system in Nigeria. But at least the little we know, let's us apply them in our daily lives. And when we begin to apply them, then we may begin to see results. Oh, improvements here, improvements there. So let me just stop there so that I don't take too much of your time. Thank you.
We appreciate you. So please, we are all expected to go in there and then apply what we have learned in today's meeting. I can't see the other person that raised his hand. Baba, is it that you went off?
Yes, Baba Wale fell.
Okay. When he joins us, we'll be able to speak. So please,
Your line is breaking. Is it just for me, Lawrence?
Time we call on the ED. Oh, okay, you are there. Please go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. First, I want to thank God for this opportunity, and I want to thank everyone that has been a part of this. Baba Wale Felua is here to talk, and I think he's back. Please pardon me to let him speak. We are very participatory inclined, so please let Baba Wale, please, can you just go ahead in 1 minute, please? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Democracy Day to us all. I believe I'm being heard. I'm having some network glitches, so please, if it's clear, just respond.
Oh, it's clear.
So
Go
I
ahead.
know I'm
It's
clear.
clear. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. Thank you. So first, I would like to thank the convener and organizers of this event. It's a wonderful and a very lovely discussion so far. However, I would like to add an addendum to what the last speaker said in person of Sheila Ogun. Yes, education is key and pertinent to exercising our democracy in Nigeria. And I believe before we can actually practice an effective democracy, our education system must also be refurbished to carry along the tenets and inculcate them right from our school days. You know, let me just take an instance of when you have as little as SUG elections in universities, we all know the way it's been practiced, it's been done. Sometimes it's even deadlier than real world politics. It's even more dangerous. And now, how do you now tell those same set of people when they get into governance not to misbehave?
Mhm.
It shows that the education they've had did not reflect in their
Mhm.
being at all. Just like like someone said in the comments, we are only interested in going to school. We are not interested in making use of the tenets of education. So just like the last speaker said, I would just implore us all to please practice these tenets of education. The education we have is not for us to go get certificate and look for jobs only, but it should transform our decisions. It should transform our being, the way we do things, the way we reason, and the way we act. We should not do things like someone that hasn't seen the four walls of school. And once again, I'll end this note. Thank you, the organizers, for this program, and I appreciate everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. Happy Democracy Day.
Thank you very much. And happy,
Thank
okay.
you.
Lawrence, you want to say something? I think somebody dropped something in the comment section. Do you want to read it?
Yes, I wanted to, for sake of fairness, there are over 10 messages, even if it's one that I read out, at least it's
Please go ahead
represented.
and read them, please.
Yeah,
Please.
before you give your
Briefly.
final, yes. So we have a comment here from Apariak Amarachi. I won't read all of them, but at least it will mean that you have joined the conversation, you know. There are several reasons why women are underrepresented in education and politics. Some of the key factors include historical and systemic gender bias. Discriminatory practices and attitudes have perpetuated gender inequality in education and politics. Number two, social and cultural norms. Gender roles and expectations have often discouraged women from pursuing leadership positions or even higher education. And then I'll take the last one now. Lack of access and resources. Women may face barriers in accessing quality education, funding, and network, making it harder to enter politics or pursue higher education. Thank you very much, Amarachi, for that wonderful opinion. We appreciate you. Sorry, because of time, we're not going to take all of them. Ambassador, please, you have the floor to give your final thought and closing remark.
Thank you very much for that. I also will just say thanks, Mr. Chuk Nwoke, for that last comment. Mr. Chuk is from United Nations Development Program, UNDP, and we have a lot of people that join from different UN agencies from start. So let me start my vote of thanks from that. Thank you very much for joining in. I want to especially appreciate our facilitators, like somebody like Doctor, though we are hoping that she will be prof as soonest, because it's always a delight for somebody like me to see female professors. I don't know. I don't know if it's just me. And I know it's going to happen soonest. So thanks so much. She's currently at Costa Rica, and I think he's in the morning right there right now. And
it's not yet, just about 7 a.m. now.
Wow, so she joined this call around 5 a.m. So and she had woken up earlier than that. So thank you so much for this commitment, for this sacrifice, for this love for education, and for the person of Dr. Ayo. I don't know if she's there on the call. I want to say a big thank you to her for also.
I'm right.
Okay.
I'm here.
Yes, I just say, thank you so much. These conversations are things that we discuss even on a personal note. And I have seen the commitment. I have seen the zeal on their private engagement that they are passionate, and I believe that we all also saw that, and we have learned from that delivery. Dengiefa, I want to say thank you very much for finding that. Dengiefa ought to be going to Benin. Though the flight details was changed, a lot of things happened, you know, Nigerian airline and all that. So even despite all that, he waited at home because he has been a major inspiration. He's with Center for Development and Democracy, CDD, and he has been a great supporter, and he has been a person already always talking about this, because I have also been looking out for people that one way or the other we can begin to know ourselves passively or actively. All this conversation beyond the content is connection, because we need that capacity of the right minds to come together in different platforms. And one way or the other, I can see that move. On this same call, we have people like Kehinde Oloyi, who is also a great peace builder in Lagos. So, and I can see the drive, Mrs. Lola Raji, I think, from Cross River. I can't keep mentioning all these people from where we have the conversation till now. I believe that we have had a Okay, sorry, the Mr. Shooks I referred to the other time is not the other Mr. Shooks I was talking about. It's the Mr. Shook, the SPSP FCT branch president. So thank you for correcting that. So as I was saying, this is not this is not a sprint, this is a marathon for social change. So I know you might not be seeing the direct impact now, but I'm telling you, we are adding these drops into our minds, and we are forming a formidable movement against injustice, against insecurity, against underdevelopment. And I believe that it will happen very soon. So I want to say again, thank you very much. Please, we want you to put on your camera if you can, so that I will take the last shot. We've been taking some shots, but we would like to have us put on our camera. Though in my own side is also dark, but I'm trying to change location for this purpose, because you know, as a leader, we must we must lead by example. But truly, it's been a wonderful time. That's just the yeah, it's been dark. It's been dark around here. There has not been light, but I just have to see what I can do to make this work. You just have to take my background like that. I have to come out so that I can be seen, because inside there is very dark. So, and we just have to put this up. If you don't mind, we have to put this up for. So I'm still waiting for some of us so that we can do this. Sheyi,
my own is muted, please. Help me out. Cannot be seen.
Okay.
My video.
Okay, is that Dr. Ayo? Who is that?
Adiza Maharazu's video is screen stopped.
Yes.
Okay.
So you cannot see me.
Okay, no problem. We'll manage your name.
Okay.
So good to see you, Sarah Diskill. I hope I got that. She's the one. She has been putting down some things for us as a rapporteur. And a lot of people on this call. Lola Raji, okay. Jeremiah Poole. Oh, I can see Oluwatosin Ojewale here. Thank you so much. And the powerful wife of our program manager is also here, the person of IB, Ibi Fubara. Thank you very much. So it's been a wonderful time. So if you have other, Mr. Olufemi Boluwade, well done, good to see you. In case I did not see your name or something, or I did not call your name, it's not out of oversight. It's just based on the way I'm seeing the screen from here, and because of time. So, but it's been a wonderful time. If you have anything to add, I can see Mr. Jeremiah Apu, but the face is different. This face, the face is the face of another person. Oh, is it? Okay. It's good to have everyone. And please, if you have anything to share, please, the PepNet's email that you can work with is ppepnet@gmail.com. And we can possibly, you can reach out to me or any other person as we continue this. Thank you very much for your time. It's public holiday, so I hope you understand why our backgrounds are like that. So thank you so much. So Lawrence, over to you.
All right, thank you very much. I'm very happy to see some faces here. My senior colleagues in the business of peace education. I greet you all. Thank you everyone who joined today. Like the ED said, we'll continue this conversation as time goes on, year in, year out, we're happy to connect and meet each other and grow from there. So thank you once again for joining, taking out time.
Lawrence, let me share something before we go. Sorry.
Okay.
For the PERS program, just to give a little announcement on that. For our PERS is Peace Education for Secondary School. We might be going to some schools now for a pilot, in June, but we'll be doing the implementation phase in September to December. And we hope to also just let you be informed about our PEPCON program. PEPCON is the major program we have every year. That's Peace Education and Practice Conference. And we are also hoping to get institutions affiliated to institutions, higher institutions very soon. So we might be reaching out to some of us to get your knowledge, to get your connections around these things, because we want to increase peace education to our young people, especially undergraduates. For schools that don't have peace and conflicts at undergraduate level, we are trying to target them. We are trying to look at different places where we can increase access to peace education. So I just thought of adding that. And if you have any question, any suggestions, anything, please just reach out to any of us. Thank you very much. Lawrence, I'm good now.
Wrap up before you will remember another thing now. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll meet again some other time. Please have a lovely day.
And you too. Happy democracy all to everybody.
Happy democracy.
Happy democracy.
Happy democracy day to everybody.
Yeah.
Happy democracy.
Happy democracy day.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Yeah. Well, bring something for us from Costa Rica. Bring something.
Okay, I'm in the middle of the rainforest, and they have lots of fruits and vegetables.
That will be perfect.
That's nice.
I'll probably bring some.
Okay. Okay, that will be
right.
lovely. Thank you.
All right. All right. Bye.
Bye. Emmanuel,
Bye.
is it? Who am I saying? Okay, no, it's Michael Auna. Yeah. Well done. You can say bye and you can just leave the call.
Okay, bye.
Shola Lamu.
Bye.
I greet you, sir.
Bye. Bye. Yeah, I greet you too, sir. Well done.
Bye.
You can say bye and leave.
Bye.
But say bye before you go. Bye.
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 Yeah.
Enjoy your democracy day holiday. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, Ifeoluwa. Well done. Our Ifeoluwa that turns to Ifeoluwa. Sarah, good. Thank you very much for the work.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, I will end the call in this is 14:12. In 1 minute, I will end the call. So thank you, everyone. Okay. Lola Raju, thank you so much. Samson Adelakon. Good to see you. Joseph Adeliki. It's great seeing you. Oh, okay, Abarugo. I'm just seeing this face. Oh, good to see you. We can't hear you, Abarugo.
Happy Democracy Day.
Yeah, happy Democracy Day. Sister, I did not know you were the one. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah. Yeah.
Happy Democracy Day. Stay safe.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining in. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thumbs up. Yeah. Bye. Joseph
Bye,
Adeleke, bye. Samsi Adelakun from Oshogbo Ilori, bye. Yeah. The music artist for peace, thank you so much. Okay, now do have a wonderful day. Prof, we'll be in touch. I'll reach out to you.
All right.
There
No
are several
problem.
things
Thank you so much.
we'll talk about to keep this.
No,
going. Yeah.
it's okay. Thank you. And please, I'm interested in that peace education project.
Okay, the one for higher institution.
The
Or the
one
one
for
for
either
secondary.
institution or even secondary, which either one.
Okay, we'll
I
actually
don't
fix a
mind.
call. Yeah.
All right. No
We'll
problem.
do it together. Thank you.
Let's catch them young.
It's important. It's important.
Yes.
And we will also
Okay.
most likely we will have a conversation on UniJurs and the undergraduate thing. I don't know if we have peace and conflict at the undergraduate level yet.
Yes, we do. We teach peace and conflict resolution. It's actually a GST course.
Okay. Yeah,
approved by the NUC. Yeah, so we do that at that level, just for 200 level students.
yeah. So one of the things we are trying to do is that it should be a course, just like National Open University have it as a course undergraduate, and some private universities have it. So our plan is to have it as, because we most of our students, just like people said, they have been they acquire this violent nature, especially people that are interested in politics from that stage of being student union president and all that. So we are very concerned about that between the age of 12 to 24, so that before they now get into the normal leadership, we can have same people there, not just for masters, people that are already interested in it. So possibly we have a very good conversation, and possibly we might be coming to UniJurs or another schools in North Central to have a meeting on that. So thank you so much.
We'll be glad to have you. And I think the thought is in the line that is in the right direction. And let's start developing it as a discipline.
Yes.
Not just an elective or one core course that people do as undergraduates.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
So I'll see you guys soon by God's grace.
Yeah.
I should be back by the end of the month.
Oh, okay. Okay. I should be back too then. I'm traveling too, but
Happy democracy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
No wahala.
Thank you
so
very
much.
much.
I appreciate it.
Yes.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right.
Yeah. Bye everyone. Ayobamiola. Bye. Yeah. Shola Lamu. Bye. Bye.